America's #1 divorce lawyer, James Sexton, answers the question, is cheating okay? And has he seen cheating in what would appear to be faithful, loving relationships? Let's get right into this. This is a 2.5 hour conversation. And this to me was one of the biggest things. It's at the end. It's how the whole thing concludes.
Have you ever seen an affair in the presence of someone being in love?
I don't know that I'd be qualified to say whether someone was in love or not. Here's what I will say, because love is an emotion and love is a verb. I've certainly seen people that were having affairs and in every aspect of their outward life appear to be deeply committed to their marriage.
Okay, so
They were an economic provider, they were a diligent parent, they were attentive to the emotional state of their partner, they still had an active sexual relationship with their partner, but it wasn't let's say, a terribly prolific one, perhaps.
So you can cheat and be in love?
Sure. I mean, listen, just the term cheat, okay, well, then a cheat meal. Like, you can be on a healthy diet and enjoy a cheat meal, and there's something great about it because it's a cheat meal. It's like a little thing you do to treat yourself. And then you go back to eating healthy and regular, right? Because there's something about the human desire for variety. There's something about passion. I mean, I always say this, I'm not a religious person, but we're all familiar with the 10 Commandments. And theoretically, if that story is true, which again, it's not provable or disprovable, but God handed down 10 rules. They talked to humanity and said, here's 10 rules. Don't kill, good one. Honor the Sabbath, good one, okay? Don't cheat on your spouse. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. It got two. It got 2 rules. He didn't say thou shalt not kill. Seriously, don't kill. That's right. No, but don't sleep with other people got 2 out of 10 rules from God, theoretically. That's amazing. That should show you how long this has been a thing, how human of a problem or issue or compulsion this is. It's the most human thing, this desire. We want to, Freud, civilization and its discontents. All of these brilliant minds from all over the world, over the whole span of time, have struggled with monogamy, have struggled with sex, have struggled with the desire for sex. Wars are fought over sex. People rise and empires rise and fall. People rise and fall. I used to say that I think 90% of what most of the men I do, they do to get laid. They do. Why work hard? So I can make money. Why? So I can get a nice car. Why? So I can attract beautiful women. Look at the red pill space, the manosphere, all this. Everything is about making yourself appealing to women or making yourself appealing to potential sexual partners, whether it's just one or a whole diversity of them. Okay, that's a different thing. But it's about that. It's about that.
There's a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to go over every little thing where he's talking about how, he said he's not a religious person. He says that, this has been a struggle for all humankind, this ability. And he says, sure, you can cheat and be in love, and I believe that. Yeah, sure, you could make a mistake and still be in love with the person. I think he was spot on when he said that love is an action and a verb and more than just a feeling. To be loving, when you pronounce your vows, you are declaring that you will be loving for the rest of your life. However, I do want to zone in on one thing. He said that this has been an eternal struggle for people for forever, and that God gave 2 out of the 10 rules. You could make the case for 11 or 3 because you don't have any idols, but nonetheless 2 to not. And I think there's big reasons for that. Number 1 is that it is so detrimental and so harmful. So detrimental and so harmful. It will destroy you emotionally, physically. It'll destroy the partner emotionally, physically, mentally, just cause trauma. It'll destroy the children. We just talked about Carl Lentz on the channel, how it destroys the family. It destroys the community, the friend, the mutual friends. If you had a whole lifetime, it destroys the community. It rips the community apart. Who's right? Who's wrong? I've seen this happen multiple times. It might destroy your job with this pastoral Carl Lentz and stuff So it is so destructive on so many levels of relationships and emotional and trauma, and those will last a lifetime. That trauma, that destruction based on infidelity, on cheating, on adultery, will last a lifetime. And it'll traumatize a whole bunch. But I think what he's touching on is that God gives us 2 of these top 10 big things, right, to talk to humans. But he also talks about how for all of time people have struggled with this. And I think that's right. That makes sense because, well, we have this infinite desire to be loved. And when you look to one person, your spouse, to fulfill that infinite desire to be loved, they will fail you. You will not get that from them. You will not get the perfect infinite love from them. They're broken too. They're going to have needs. They're going to need to be loved. They're going to fail you in small ways. And then that leads to the infidelity in big ways. That leads to the failure in huge ways. And as a response, because you're not getting sex from them, you're going to try to get sex from them. You're not getting that emotional trigger from them, that emotional fulfillment from them. So you're going to go another place. And spouses run to porn in secret. Spouses run to other people in secret. And that's because not because of the sin of it, not because, I'm doing this because it's going to destroy everything. They're doing it because it feels good. And why does it feel good? Because they have an infinite capacity or an infinite desire for love, the infinite capacity to be loved. And so they need that desire. We all need that infinite need to be loved filled. And so we run to other places, and we have disordered solutions for that need. However, we do have a need for commitment and fidelity and eternal, just someone being there forever. And we can't give that because we don't know where to get that from. And the Bible would say you'd get that from God. You'd get that from God. Now, the interviewer, Diary of a CEO, actually talks about, should we be married? Should we get married since we have this need to, this infinite need? Should we get married because we have this struggle to always be going around and seeking love, attention, sex, affection, love? Should we be married? And he asked the America's number one divorce lawyer.
So should we get married?
Should we get married? I mean, from a job security place, I hope people continue to get married, because if they don't, I'll be out of a job. But in seriousness, I think we will continue to get married.
Should we?
I don't think we should say all of us should. I think we should ask the question. I think we shouldn't assume we should get married. That's what I think. I think that we should ask the question, what is the problem to which marriage is a solution? And do I have that problem? And will it solve that problem? Because the fact that it's an odd question to say when someone says, I want to get married, that it would be odd for me to go, why?
Yeah.
Why is that weird? Like if you said, I want to have a podcast, why? It's a perfectly reasonable question. I want to go to Florida. Why? I like the weather. I have a friend there, whatever. I want to get married. Why?
What do people respond when you typically ask that question? What's the most frequent response to the reason for the invention of the technology of marriage? Because I posted many years ago that I was suspicious about marriage, and I remember all the comments that I got, and different people arguing different things. Well, it holds them.
It's controversial.
It's super controversial. People get very attached to it. I remember one of them. I remember was a case that it's the best environment to raise kids in when the parents are in that kind of bond. I had another one which means that you stay and you solve the problems instead of running away. So marriage is really good for that regard. But you know the reasons why people say marriage makes sense. What are those key reasons why?
I think that there's religious reasons. That's a big one. I get all the time. Like in the comments, there will be like a billion people that go, marriage is a covenant between God and it's as if like I hadn't heard of this, as if I didn't go to Catholic school my entire life. Like, yes, I get it. That's a belief you have, and that's okay. Like my beliefs don't require that you believe them. Yours may require that I believe them, and that's okay. Like we're going to agree to disagree if your fundamental thing is that God spoke to you and told you a thing, whether it was in written form or verbally. Like I can't argue with that.
You sound like you're a big fan of love and not a big fan of marriage.
I'm a fan of marriage to the extent that it facilitates love, but I just don't see a nexus between those two things. I don't think these two things have that much to do with each other. And I think to the extent that they have something to do with each other, they probably could have existed without the marriage. Like I think marriage is a symbol of something, and I don't think you need the symbol to have the something.
All right. So there's a ton to unpack there. But to keep this kind of pointed is that I think they're circling around. He even says it. It's a something. What is it? Why do we have marriage? Why should we get married? Why is that a weird question to ask? Of course, you want to get married. If you were asked the question why, it's so ingrained. It's so like, obviously it's a good thing. And then people are circling around like, And these are all might be true, right? Best place to raise children, but is that your goal in life? Best place to raise a family, the structure of everything. It's a covenant from God. All of it's true. But I think why we need to get married, and you could disagree with me on this if you want, but the reason why we need to get married is because we need that we have the capacity for infinite capacity to love and be loved. That we have that infinite capacity to be loved, and we have this desire, because we are made in the image of God, to have everlasting, unshaken commitment to one another from something to us. We need that. That is ingrained in us, and marriage is the thing that it closely resembles God's love for us as humanity. In itself, marriage is not the end. That it's just a shadow of this. It's what he said. It's the connection to what we actually need is the unending, committed love, agape love from God our Father. That's what we need. And Jesus Christ as the bridegroom and us as the bride, that is the covenant of marriage. That is what that's, I think, exactly what we need. And that's why we have marriage. Is because it is God's answer to the closest thing that we could tangibly see as God's love for us. Let me know if you agree with that definition or agree with that sentiment. It's definitely lacking. Certainly people can add to that, right? So how would you add to that if you don't agree with it? Maybe you agree with 30%, 50%, or 100%. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.